Hey Scott, how you doing there, man? Welcome to GratitudeSpace Radio.
Good. Thank you. How are you, Chris?
I'm great, man. I'm so glad we could do this. It's your birthday's coming up, and it gave me an excuse to reach out and get to have a one-on-one with you.
Well, I'm very glad it happened. Thank you, sir.
Oh, for sure, man. We were talking before, and we realized that we've technically known each other for 27 years, which is a really long time, or
Right.
26, because you said it was that long ago that you moved to Kentucky.
Right. Yeah, I moved down here in '93 and met a lot of people, including yourself, that first year that I still talk to. So, yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I didn't realize it'd been. It's amazing to think that's over like 60% of my life ago. It's crazy how fast time goes. Obviously it feels slow sometimes, but man, does it go fast.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Yeah, I keep thinking the first time I saw you too is in '97 on the Pop Mart tour. And that'll be like 25 years ago next year. It's freaking crazy
Right. Yeah. Yep.
to gauge our lives with like albums and music. It's like it's a lot of fun. So so we obviously met we met through at Southeast Christian Church years and years and years ago at a at the high school event called Vision.
Right.
Since then I feel like, as far as looking back and like how we got here today is I feel like we knew each other and then we didn't see each other for a really long time. And thanks to our mutual friend, Corey Boston, thank you to him that I've seen you. I feel like the only reason that you've kind of come back in my life the last 2 or 3 years is because I saw you with him somewhere a couple years ago. Do you remember?
Yeah. Actually, we were at Bourbon and Beyond.
Oh, right. Right.
And then I think you came out to the pizza place with us as well.
Yeah, yeah, I can't remember if it was at the pizza place, but I remember with that one of those events that allowed us to like hook up on Facebook. I feel like that's what pivoted us to like, I feel like it. That or I just
Yeah.
have a bad memory, but it allowed
Right.
us to be back in the circle.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And from Corey being a great connector of people and he's very good at keeping in touch with people. We got to reconnect and now, we're friends on Facebook. And because of that, I got to see that your birthday was coming up. And like I was saying before, it's like, I'll just check in on Scott, see if he wants to have a conversation, share a little gratitude, talk, have a chat with me on his upcoming birthday. And voila, here we are. And, speaking of that, Scott, what are some things in your life that maybe some of your passions or some things you love doing?
Well, so this is kind of a funny story. And if I get too long-winded, cut me off for sure. But in a way, so my birthday is my chronological birthday is coming up, but I feel like I was sort of reborn about 3 years ago. So you asked me about some of my passions, and that comes into sort of my rebirth story. But to say that I got reborn was how do I start off with this? Basically, I went through a very, very difficult divorce 3 years ago. One that I didn't want, that I didn't ask for, and that put me in that position where, like, I basically felt like I had to start over. To borrow from Bono, I called it my own personal apocalypse. He used that in his liner notes for one of the most recent albums. It felt like my own personal apocalypse. And I decided at that point, looking at some of the decisions that I saw other people making, that I could set my trajectory, right? Like basically in trajectory, I call one of my magic words. So I saw where, not just people from my past. I want to be as kind and as I possibly can, but I saw people around me making decisions that sort of put them in a bad trajectory. Poor decisions financially or health-wise, you name it. And so I decided at that point in my life that I wanted to set my trajectory in a positive, line. So if I could make healthier decisions, I'd make healthier decisions. If I could make better financial decisions, I did that. I went into counseling. I just wanted to get my head right, my heart right, everything squared away. And we're still working on that. But one of the things that really helped me was, well, I'll put it this way. So my counselor gave me a prescription. He basically told me, say yes. And I said, say yes to what? And he said, say yes to anything. So if somebody asks you if you want to go to someplace you've never been, don't think about it. Just say yes. And if somebody says, well, you should try this thing, instead of disregarding it, saying I could never do that, then say yes and try that. So I started hanging out with some friends. I'm fortunate enough to have friends that are in the performance community here. And I started hanging out with some friends that do juggling and hoop stuff and a lot of the circus type arts. And I was talking to one of them that was a juggler, and I asked him just out of the blue, I'd never thought of this before. Well, where does somebody go to learn unicycle? And he said, oh, well, you have to talk to Jesse down at Suspend, which, by the way, I'm wearing my Suspend shirt today.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, and called up Jesse, or actually I messaged him, and he said, yeah, well, you got to come down here and I'm teaching a class in 2 weeks on unicycle. You should join up. Okay. So I had never had any desire in my life to learn unicycle, but here I was kind of building my new Scott self from the ground up. So I went to Suspend and I started learning unicycle. In about the third lesson, something clicked and I got it. And then when you're learning the unicycle, you learn things in distance, right? So I got 5 feet away from the wall, and then I got 6 feet away from the wall. And it's like, I liken it to surfing, where you're looking for the next wave. So now I want 10 feet. Now I want 50 feet. Now I want to go 100 feet on this unicycle without having to stop. And it just, it triggered something in me, it triggered a youthfulness in me. It triggered good health. You have to have a good core balance for that. And it was just fun. So when I tell this story, because I've told it a bunch of times, in order to work on the unicycle, I would go down to the skate park. And this was when I was 44 or 45 years old. I started doing this, 45. So, and I thought it was just hilarious that at 45 years old, now I'm hanging out at the skate park. But that's one of the things that sort of got me into it. And then when I finished the lessons for unicycling, I didn't want to leave Suspend. So then I started taking trapeze lessons there. Static trapeze, not, swinging from the big top, but right. Doing static trapeze, and some of the other classes that they offer there. And what an amazing, diverse group of people there. I love all of them. It's such a good place and a happy place. And it's cool because when you take a lesson there, you'll watch, I'll watch my trapeze teacher do something and I'll have my arms crossed yeah, that's not going to happen today. And within an hour, I'm doing it. So you walk out of there with such a natural high of an hour ago, this thing was impossible. And now not only is it not possible, or it is possible, but you're doing it. So anyway, long-winded, like I said, sorry.
No, don't apologize. I love that story. There's so much good stuff in there. So I'm gonna try to go back through and break it down just a little bit. I like how you said you made a choice. You know what I mean? Yes, I think that's such a. I think if more people just understand they have a choice in their situation when it comes to mental, it's the best case scenario. It's if you get up in the morning, you say today's going to be a crappy day. You are so right. You know what I mean? You are the winner. As soon as you make the statement, you've put it all into motion. So, if you wake up, like I like to wake up and go, today's going to be an awesome day. I just want to make that statement. I write it down, just project myself, because I know that I get to make that decision. And when you said you went through this really big change and you realized, you had the realization, you're like, well, I got to work on Scott. So I'm going to go work on Scott, because I want to be better. You made a choice. And then inside those choices allowed you more choices and opened up your world, right? Like your counselor saying, just say yes. That is the same type of this being open to go places and see people and have experiences and not stay at home and be depressed. Right.
Right. Well, so two thoughts come to mind with that. One, I'm going to borrow from our friend Bono again.
Okay.
There's another phrase that he says in his liner notes for that album where he says, joy is an act of defiance. And man, I threw my arms around that. Because, instead of this world really, tries to keep you down. You can drive along the freeway and nobody on that freeway knows you or even cares about you or cares what's going on in your life. So the person that you have to really invest in is yourself. And you can't do that when you've got your eyes to the ground. You've got to be, looking up and choosing joy. And joy is an act of defiance. It's such a powerful statement for me. It became one of the many benchmarks that got me through that tough period in my life 3 years ago of I can be depressed about this, or, I can get on with it. One of the things I did from that period that really helped, and it seems so simple, but it was powerful, was I created the most sugary playlist that you could ever imagine. And then I just listened to it all the time. I've forced myself to listen to this playlist of very poppy, very upbeat songs in order to set my brain kind of like a thermostat to put myself where I wanted to be. Because internally, after, everything sort of burnt down to the ground, I wanted to listen to Comfortably Numb on repeat. That's where everything was at. But I really didn't want to stay in that place. And what happened is through making conscious decisions to be healthy, conscious decisions to be happy, in a way, it was sort of a fake it until you make it. But there became a time when then it became my default, where it wasn't faking it anymore, where I just woke up and I took pleasure in the smallest of things. I started noticing things like, hey, that's a nice breeze, as I'm taking a walk, and then just stopping and enjoying that moment of serenity without having to make it about anything except just being in that moment, which really is the heart to me of gratitude, is just being in the moment and being happy with what you have, no matter what that is.
Right. I love that. Again, there were so many good things there. Going back to your to the beginning of that, what you were talking about, I kept thinking of, I'm just so grateful that gratitude is a choice. In my book, I write about the world may be completely against you. Like basically you may feel in moments that the complete world is conspiring against you to be ungrateful. Like they want you to be ungrateful. That's what the world is. But the great thing is that we have back to where our first day was, right? We have a choice. Gratitude is a total choice. It's like you can choose to be grateful for what you have, or you can just be upset and just not appreciate anything. You have a choice. You can appreciate things you have and ignore them and be unhappy, or you can be grateful for things you have, and it's such a powerful thing to say, you have that choice to make, and gratitude is definitely a big key. So another statement a friend of mine made was like, busyness is the enemy of gratitude. So if you're running around, not stopping to smell the flowers, or like you said, enjoy the breeze, you're not actually present. So being present, if you're not present, you really can't be appreciating what you have, because you have to be present to appreciate it. And that's a massive component of gratitude, is just being present, right? Being okay with where you are, actually being where, obviously we all love to watch TV, which is great. Netflix, we like to play with our phones, but when we're doing that, we're not actually being present. It's like being the present is like what's going on. Like right now, you and I are being present because we're looking at each other and we're having a conversation. So there are ways to be present with technology. I'm not crapping on technology at all, because we talked before. I love technology, but like you said, just stopping, enjoying the breeze. That's something, that's you being present. That's you going, this is a special moment. I'm gonna appreciate this moment. And I had an amazing author, Hector Garcia, on a couple weeks ago, and he has a book called Ichigo Ichi, and Ichigo Ichi is what they say in the Japanese tea ceremonies when they get together, and it basically is their way of stating to the other one that this is sacred and this will never happen again. And the truth of the matter is, every moment we have actually is a fleeting moment that can never be replicated again. It's like, so when you say, and that's the truth of the matter. It's like, you could be this, it's that whole statement. It's like, you could walk down the same stream, the same ocean, a year later, but you're not going to be the same person. So, and the ocean's not going to be the same. It's like it's never, because we are ever changing. Nothing is ever the same. Like it's always unique. So when you say things like, I enjoyed the breeze, that is a unique experience with you in nature, right? It's powerful.
Well, and peace, peace is another thing that I love, and that sounds too hallmarky probably, but coming from a very difficult situation, only a few short years ago, where peace wasn't in the mix at all for me. I understand and value the peace that I've been afforded now. So, and part of that peace is peace with my own mind, and peace that I cultivate. But, peace in and of itself, of just not worrying about, your future, we're not worrying about what happened in the past. It's in the past. Take what you can get from it. But just being in that present moment is huge for me. If you would have told me a couple years ago, like, hey, Scott, in 4 years, you're going to be divorced. You're going to be in the best shape of your life. You're going to be happy. Oh, and you're going to have a unicycle and hang out at the skate park and hang upside down from a trapeze. And, and it's going to be like the best years of your life. I would have looked at you and said, no way, that's impossible. That'll never happen, But here we are. So, and I love it. I'm so grateful for the life that I have now. And that seems counterintuitive when you're going through a rough patch, but it's a lesson that I remember daily, because whatever I'm going through even now, it's I always say pain is temporary,
Right.
So no matter how much something hurts, it's going to pass, and there's going to be something else. There's going to be highs and there's going to be lows, but man, if you can understand and hold peace, to me, it's a huge strength. And, and so oddly, even though I never would have chosen what happened to me several years ago, I'm kind of glad that it did. And so some people have asked me, well, if you could go back in time, would you change anything? And no, I don't think I would. I think I needed that experience to really propel me into the future that I'm living in now. I learned really to have peace in the middle of that storm as well, where I couldn't control anybody else. I could only control myself and my reaction to things. And I'm not saying that I have a perfect track record on reactions, but I think towards the end of that period of my life, I was learning just to be okay with whatever happens, and to show as much love or as compassion as I could. So, and the other thing that I'd hate myself if I didn't bring up was, I had a stepdaughter in that relationship, and she's amazing. I love the relationship that I had with her and the discussions that I had with her. And so I don't think I'd ever want to redo time where I didn't experience that relationship with her either. So yeah, no matter what is going on in your life, whether it's the greatest thing or the hardest thing, there is something beautiful to be taken from it. And if you insist on seeing the beauty in whatever you're going through, I think you're just going to be a much happier and healthier human being. And I learned that very much the hard way. But I'm so grateful that I did.
Yeah, it's the, it's the hardest things that you get the, you get the biggest lessons out of. And I have this term called gratitude cubed. It's where if you're sitting in a state of gratitude, you can look back at all those pieces and go, the good and the bad. You can go, it's okay, because here you are, right? Those were the streets. Those were the places you went down that. Obviously, some of those are like the car ran out of gas, right? So we would say the divorce. So it's like the car literally ran out of gas, and it's like you had to start walking because that's just what it was, But you did. You started walking. You continue to live, and you're sitting in a place right now, and you're grateful, and you love who you are, and you love your life. And it took all that is part of who Scott is. And if Scott loves Scott, and Scott appreciates where Scott is, he's got to go. I can see. I'm okay with it, and the beauty and you can see those things. I think about, and there's things you obviously can control and you can't control, right? Relationships with, you really, we don't need to get into the depths of it, but like, a relationship is two people agreeing to be in a relationship, and if that can't happen because one or the other, then it's not really. It technically might not even be one person's choice, but that's just what it is, right? And very similar, this is in the same sense, my mom passing away from cancer almost 7 years ago. That obviously was like the car running out of gas for me. Right. And, I pivoted back, and it allowed me to put perspective to my whole situation. It allowed me to look at it differently. And in the same sense, that car running out of gas at that moment has led me to so many relationships, so many beautiful moments right up to this moment. Me writing that letter, I can to me, like gratitude is stacking all the time. One moment's doing another. And honestly, from that impossible situation, which had a lot of ugliness, but also a lot of beauty, it's been stacking for the last 7 years. It's stacking right now. You know what I mean? The reason GratitudeSpace Radio exists, my book, and all these things, us having a birthday gratitude episode and us connecting right now, is specifically because of that, because of what happened, and I love myself. I love the connections. I love the relationships. I'm very content to go. Obviously I never would have chosen that, but I'm grateful to be sitting here. Right. I'm grateful to be sitting here having this moment.
Right.
Which is only happening because of that,
Right. Yeah. It's not something necessarily that you can teach per se. Like I think we all come into understanding gratitude from our own doorways. I can't take the way that I came into my present state of mind, and say, here's how you got to do it. But I will say that by sharing what brought you into that space of gratitude and what got you through hard things, that you can share with. Like, I've had several friends that have gone through now similar experiences that I went through, and I was able to speak to them, like, I understand what you're going through, and this is what helped me. And then I've had the joy of having conversations with them say, man, you gave me this advice, or you told me about what got you through, and it's really helping. And so it's kind of, there's a beauty there there's a beauty in everything, as long as you insist on seeing it and look for it. So, and another thing, sorry, last Bono quote, but the other phrase that I threw my arms around a couple of years ago that I heard him say, it's a lyric in one of the songs, is, I wrote it down. Hang on. Sorry. When all is lost, we find out what remains.
Right.
And so, the Scott of 4 years ago got stripped down to nothing, like virtually nothing. And then what came out of that rebuilding and the stacking of gratitude is the Scott that you see in front of you. I'm just a different person than I was a few short years ago.
I totally dig that. And thanks again for the quote. Yeah. It's
well,
go ahead.
So sorry. Right. Well, there was a couple things that really helped me out. That I said that there was the playlist. The movie The Greatest Showman, when that came out, I literally saw that just a few weeks after like everything had happened, and that I look back at that period of my life as these things and people that helped me through.
Right.
Our mutual friend Ben, he walked with me through every step of those hard years, and I love him for it. Like, I honestly look at him as holding me up when my legs didn't work, figuratively speaking. So there was people that I had shunned because of that relationship, because either I was putting too much energy into the relationship, or that the person I was with didn't like them. And so I was like, oh yeah, okay, I won't talk to them anymore. And, I wrongfully blocked a lot of people out of my life. And when everything blew up, they all came back. Like, they all came back with so much grace and forgiveness. And, so I had the mindset. I got this tattoo a month after everything blew up. The quote is, "I am and always will be the optimist, the hoper of far-flung hopes, and the dreamer of improbable dreams." And I got it on my forearm, which probably can't see. Got it on my forearm, but that was my line in the sand, like a month after. And part of that trajectory that I talked about was, I knew that I was going to be in a place where I would want to sometimes, be crying or upset and just, fold my hands and look down. And I wanted something to look back at me when I was looking down that reminded me that this isn't who you are. This other thing is who you are. And so I got it tattooed permanently onto my forearm. So whenever I needed to look down, I had this battle cry, looking back at me, telling me this is who you are. And, I'm not sure that everybody needs to tattoo something on themselves to be present in the moment, but this has really helped me a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what, with what you're doing there is very similar to having like a gratitude practice. That's the whole, the more we practice it, the more it's easier to pivot out of those moments to go back to everything's okay, right? This is just temporary. You start to think about, and that's when you're looking down about that's reminding you to be optimistic. That's reminding you to that this is just temporary, that this is not, the world's not over, that Scott's okay, everything's going to be all right. That's what you're, so basically your practice of getting into that state is you literally put something on your arm that you're going to look down at, which is really powerful. It's, I really like that a lot. I mean, you've taken it to the extreme where you're with it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is awesome, man. I mean, that's, I've got this symbol for gratitude. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but this is the symbol for gratitude inside of a luggage case. I don't know. I can't do it.
Right.
Anyways, I took I took, you'll appreciate this. I took the idea of the, all you can't leave behind, the heart in the suitcase.
Yeah.
And I put gratitude in the suitcase because I'm grateful and will travel. So that that's the only tattoo I have. But it allows me to remind myself that, to be in a grateful state, that just walk, wherever I am, to be grateful. But I love, it's, speaking a little more. So you shared some really great gratitude for Ben. Were there some other people during that time that really held you up, that assisted you? You said you had some great conversations with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, shout out to my parents, my mom and dad. They were there and built me up. And so, I love them. And then I've had, many friends that I've been friends with. I'm blessed with a lot of people in my life. I had a friend that I'd known for almost as long as I've known you, named Andrea. She was going through a similar situation, and so she was there just to go through it with me, you know? So, and we've been friends for years, and I suspect we'll continue to be friends for years. So she was there and helped me out. And then the nice thing that I also wanted to sort of touch on was I've met, you know, just by being in this headspace, I've met so many amazing people over the past 3 years that I know that I wouldn't have met had my situation not occurred. And I wouldn't have met if I wasn't in the right place mentally to just sit down and talk with complete strangers. So my friend Ken, I've known him for just about this whole time, and he's a he's a force of nature, honestly. But he's positive all the time, no matter what happens to him, and he's been through the ringer too. But it's just encouraging when you see how being open-hearted is not a weakness at all. Being open-hearted is a strength. And, you know, being open to new experiences and new things, you know, like I said, if you would have told me that I was hanging out at a skate park with a unicycle 4 years ago, I would have laughed at you and said, like, no way, man. But I love it. So yeah, so just I've been blessed with a whole lot of people in my life that have been there for me. And, you know, true to form, like Corey, I wasn't talking to him for, you know, many years, you know, later in my marriage. But when I came out of that, there he was, you know, just, he didn't go anywhere. He was still my friend. He still cared about me. You and I are sitting here talking now and sharing how gratitude is shaped like every bit of our life. And, you know, it's just a testament to, you don't have to live in a negative space, despite whatever your circumstances are. You really do sort of set the thermostat of your life.
Right.
And if you set it negatively, guess what? Negative things are going to happen. And you're going to go more towards that trajectory. But you can choose your trajectory. And if you set it to something positive, and if you stay open, man, like, I mean, life is going to be beautiful for you no matter what your circumstance. And that's been my lesson for the past couple of years, and it still is my lesson. I love it.
I love that, man. Yeah, it's I'm completely with you. It's yeah. I mean, I was even talking last night with a counselor in California who runs it's called a Gratitude Recovery. They have a couple houses, sobriety houses, and you know, we were just saying that, you know, I was saying, like, if somebody is in a dark place, like, if you just choose at that moment, say, look, I'm going to sit here with it, right? Like, you're actually talking to the situation. It's like, you know, make it a choice. You know, that the baby step would be like, okay, realize what's going on in your body, and then physically make a choice. Say, okay, I'm going to sit here with this a little bit longer. You know, that way it's almost like you're taking the power back. You're going, okay, I'm aware of what's going on. I'm choosing to be here. You know, like, just starting with the baby step of just taking the power away from, just, you know, I think of it, it's like, there's a great analogy. It's like, would you want a stranger to ruin your day? You know, it's like if somebody were to drive down the road and beep their horn really loud at you and yell at you, you don't even, you know, you have nothing to do other than you were just in their path, right? Do you want to give your power and your happiness away to a stranger? You know, it's like, it's this, you know, with 99% of the time, things that are around you, they really have nothing to do with you. They just affect you, right? And it's like, do you want, you know, in the same sense, even if somebody wants to make you angry, like, do you want to give your power away? Like, is that where you want to be? Like, and I know I don't. If I can mentally be there, go, oh, whoa, what's going on here? Hold on, this is not normal. What's going on in my body? Okay, and then you actually make a choice where you're being proactive instead of reacting. You know, I have, you know, it's.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I can't speak to where people are in their lives, but I can say that, you know, anybody can get in the mindset to make a decision to sit, you know, just to, I'm feeling this, I'm going to, you know, making a decision is knowing what's going on and saying you're going to sit in it. I think it's a beautiful place for people to start to realize they have a choice.
Right. That is,
and you can choose whatever you want. You know, it's like, I don't want to choose for anybody. I can't make somebody be grateful. I don't build gratitude. You know what I mean? I can set the plate for gratitude in a room, but I can't make somebody be grateful, and I wouldn't want to. Just like I can't make the choices for somebody to step out of a bad situation. But I all day long can just let people. I love to share just the fact that you have the decision to make. It's a decision. It could be, okay, I'm going to sit with this, or just allowing people to know they have it. You have a choice. There's choices all day long.
Right. That is so powerful. Well, that was, there were circumstances in my past life where, I would be accused of things that I wasn't doing or that I didn't do. And before I started hitting this place, I would respond to those accusations and, well, no, I didn't, or no, I don't. And I'd get angry and I'd get upset, but all I was doing was feeding that particular thing. And so I decided in that spot that instead of responding to that, I would respond with love, and it didn't have to be like some grand gesture, but like sometimes there would be times that I would, that somebody would come at me with accusations or basically trying to rile me up. And instead of defending myself at all, I knew what was true or what was true for me. And so instead of responding, I would listen, even though it was horrible and it was hard and it was hurtful. I would listen. And then when those rants at me were done, then I would say, okay, I'm sorry. What can I do to make this right? And then I would try to do something nice for the person. And it was super counterintuitive. When somebody comes at you with negativity, there's a fight or flight moment in us that wants to respond in kind. Wrong phrasing, ironically, not respond in kind, but respond, equally as negative.
Yeah.
And man, like it was something I stumbled into, but I realized that this is the direction that I want to go. And so I would do something nice and then I would walk away, and you would see it sort of have this effect on my, would-be attacker. Like, what's going on? Like, this isn't working. Like, why isn't he screaming back? And that really taught me that peace in the storm. It was such a valuable lesson, and it was learned over time. But I've shared that with some of my friends that are going through similar things now, and they have said, like, this peace thing, it's really kind of addicting. Once you realize that you don't have to be mean, you don't have to
be a victim.
Right. You don't have to be a victim. You don't have to be anything. That person is always going to be that person and their choices, but you can choose how you do life, even when life is throwing rocks at you. Once you get it, man, well, it's a discipline. It's a daily thing. Like you said, you wake up and you decide to do that. But once you do that, it changes everything. And you just experience life in such a much better place and a much better light, with gratitude and compassion and love. It's, to me, I always say, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. But you got to learn it for yourself. I liked what you said. You can set the plate for it. You can display it. You can act it out. What's the phrase, going back to our church days, where there's a phrase that goes, preach the gospel, use words if you have to, which I love that, sorry, my battery's running low. I don't know if you heard the beep or not. Anyway,
no, I didn't.
But yeah, so and the gospel to me has always been, love your neighbor as yourself. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And if you can display love to people, no matter what their background is, no matter what their thing is, hopefully that love kind of spreads over to them. And if it doesn't, you're still the better for it. So why wouldn't you want to choose, being in a positive, loving, mind headspace?
For sure. I've been talking a lot lately about, all I want to do is be a catalyst for gratitude. And the cool thing about that is there's a lot of ways to do that. Obviously you can just be there for somebody. Like you could just staying and listening for somebody. It could be even taking someone's attack and not internalizing it and giving it back to them. Right. I mean, that could be, any form of kindness. These are all, they all set the plate, as we say, or like the breath of gratitude, right? You're setting a scenario for it to exist, it's to me like, that's just like this, like the great thing is like, we get to talk about gratitude here, and we're basically lighting each other's candle, like we're both sharing, we're getting mirror reflections. And I, the amazing thing about having these conversations is I always come away learning something. I always find more things to be grateful for, specifically because I continue to ask people what they're grateful for. And speaking of that, it's like, and this is obviously a very comfortable scenario, but the flip side of that, like when you were talking about, don't, if you have to, the gospel, if you have to speak, if you don't speak unless you have to. The problem is not the problem, but it's like, there's a thing called toxic gratitude. And that's where somebody's telling you have to be grateful. And that's ugly. And what that does is it literally puts the stench on gratitude. It literally puts stink on gratitude. And I never want to do that. I never want to be the person to reflect anything, gratitude in a negative, toxic way.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about, being there for people, like it's not wanting to change anybody. And that's even going back to our days at church. It's like, I don't want to change, it's like, I don't look at somebody and say, I want to change you. Right. Cause that's not a friendship. That's not anybody I want to be with. They show up and they're like, oh, I need you to be like this. Right. Like, that's not it.
Yeah. Well, and as soon as you try to like change somebody, you've lost them,
Right.
I don't want to change. Like I said, my friends that I've gained in the past couple of years, I am super proud of how diverse like my circle is, and I love everyone for what I've learned from them, and for the light that they give off. Like you said, it lights the candle. I like that. You can give to somebody. And not diminish any of your own light. You're only making it larger. And so, especially before my battery dies, I have to tell you, man, I love what you do. What you do is awesome. And I think it's sort of that kindred spirit thing. You see somebody that is doing something positive and in that space, and you just can't help but admire it. And so, what you do is fantastic, man.
Thanks, Scott, man. I really appreciate that, man. And I appreciate your time today and spending this morning with me, which basically like I said, it's a gratitude meeting, and I can't have enough of these. So I'm looking forward. I'm hoping we can hang out like we were saying in our messages. I totally would love to get together and we could take a walk or get some coffee or something. I've always, like I said, I've always really appreciated, and I've always thought of you as whenever around you, I think you're a great guy. So you're good company. I've always thought you were good company. I don't know how to expand more than that, but I'm glad we could have this conversation and kind of dig in more to who we are, and share some real stuff. And I love where you're coming from. I love where you are, your perspective, and just how you say yes. And is part of you saying yes today, and wanting to put that light back out into the world. Like you said, we get to share our experiences with others. And because of that, we allow windows of possibilities for other people to see things they can't see, right? Like that's what it is. It's like when we're in our darkest moments, we can only see the little corner we're in. But people, what we're feeling and going through is not new. It's like people, these emotions, these feelings, like other people have done it. And when people show up that are real and you're in your orbit and you can relate to it, it just sheds that light and allows new possibilities to open up, where you go, well, maybe I can choose in this moment not to think about that one thing. Maybe I can think about something I'm grateful for, or I'm going to go take a walk instead of sitting here in my anger, or I'm going to go take a unicycling class. I'm going to ask about that, right? I'm going to seek. I'm going to ask, and then, well, how about that? Somebody knows it. And then somebody knows it. Then I have all these friends, right? And then I'm at the skate park and I'm 45 years old. Like, love that, brother. Love it.
Yeah. Just be open for sure.
Yeah. All right, man. I know your battery's done. So Well, I'll close this off, but do you have any closing thoughts on your birthday? I know we just talked about a lot of things, but I want to give you the floor one last time. Do you have any closing thoughts before I close this out?
Just thanks for this opportunity, man. I appreciate you. I'm deeply honored that you would think of me, and I know that everybody has a story to tell. So I hope that my little section of the story, helps other people, and points people in the right direction, in a positive light. And I just hope that I can give out as much love as I've received over the past several years in my life, honestly. So, yeah.
That's beautiful, man. And just speaking of that real fast, it's like, you just showing up today is a testament to what you just said. So, you sharing your story and us having a conversation, even if nobody else heard this, you've affected me. But the cool thing is we did create something that people can see. And the cool thing is it's going to do what it wants to do. But the magic was right here, right? So
Right.
this is what we control. And you definitely, like you said, you shared a beautiful story perspective where you're at, and you've done what you statement. You said you've done that. So I appreciate that. I wholeheartedly appreciate you showing up, your honesty, and sharing these moments with me and this gratitude. So in that thought, man, you have an excellent birthday, and we will be seeing you soon. And so I'm Chris with Scott, just saying you got a lot to be grateful for, and we're always here if you want to hear more about gratitude here on GratitudeSpace Radio. So, and we